This is a dream I'm going to call The Corrupted Church. The dream is from March of 2019. And in this dream, it started out, I was in third person watching all kinds of stuff happening. This started out in a city area, like a neighborhood in a city. There was some commercial buildings, and then there was houses, little yards in the front, stuff along those lines. At the beginning of the dream, it starts out with people standing in their yards protesting. They were holding signs that said something similar to, like, everyone deserves to live, you can't censor us, all lives should matter, stuff along those lines. A lot of these people were protesting. They had yards and their signs in their front yards, kind of like you would see with political signs and stuff along those lines. Staked up. They were also holding signs, to stakes. Quite a few of these people, they all had their children with them. And a lot of them were like 2, 3 children. A lot of them were infants or younger children. And it was summertime. You could tell by the way everybody was dressed. So they were all protesting, and the odd part about it was that they were stuck standing in their yard. Like there was something containing them to their yards. Like if they left their yard, something would happen, which I found peculiar. And then I watched as police started coming, large amounts of vehicles, of police vehicles, and they were telling them to go back in their house, be quiet, stop protesting, and they refused to. And after they refused to stop protesting, then all of a sudden the police started to get violent. And when I say violent, they started getting their batons out, charging people on their properties, beating them down, parents and kids. Some cops were shooting some of the parents in front of their kids. Other police vehicles all of a sudden started to just SUV style police vehicles started ramming people on their property, just mowing them over, stuff like that. And it was very terrible, what was happening. And then suddenly the dream switched, and it was late fall, early winter, and all those houses, same houses where everybody was just getting killed at, all these people protesting, and all the businesses right there next to them, everything was boarded up. Everything was derelict. And there was homeless people. Well, I shouldn't say homeless people. There was people camping as if they were homeless on the sidewalks, all along the buildings, all along the sidewalks. Not on the properties, just along the sidewalks. It's like they couldn't go into the properties or on the properties. And it was fall, like I said. And now I was in first person in the dream. And I was walking up the sidewalk where some of this encampment was on the sidewalks. And I got to this one point, and I overheard a young man talking to a bunch of older gentlemen. When I say young man, I mean probably early 20s. And older gentlemen, I mean probably 40s and 50s. And they were standing at a corner, an intersection. And the young man was going on and on about how Jesus was really a communist, and he really wanted communism because he wanted us to love each other, and all this other stuff, that all kinds of things that wasn't true, that Jesus never said. And he just kept going on and on about this type of stuff. And a bunch of the older men started just shaking their heads, murmuring, and started walking away. Until the last one finally walked away, and the young man's just sitting there like bellowing to anybody that was passing by, like he just discovered gold or something. He's just like, man, this is what is going on. And I walked up to it, and I was standing there listening, and then I walked up when everybody else was gone, and I was like, why are you saying these things? Jesus never said any of this stuff. Jesus never encouraged communism or anything along those lines. He's like, yeah, man. He's like, that's what Jesus talked about, and even the pastor said that. That's what the pastor told us. And the pastor is certified by the state, so he's telling the truth. And I was like, no, that's not what Jesus said at all. And I had a backpack on. I pulled a Bible out of my backpack, and it was my Bible. And I started turning to the Gospels, and I started to try to show the young man, like, what did Jesus actually say? And the young man started freaking out, and he's like, yo man, you can't have that. That's not a state-sponsored Bible. You're not allowed to have those outside of church, and only the pastors are supposed to be allowed to read them. What are you doing? And then he started yelling, counterfeit, 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 and just over and over and over, and pointing at me. And about that time, there was also a couple police officers that were walking up the sidewalk, and they were checking the various tents and encampments along the sidewalk for something or someone. And then when he started yelling counterfeit, the two police that were on foot, they started running up towards us. So I took off running. And the police radioed, and next thing you know, there was a whole slew of cop cars running, just chasing after me. And to the point where they were mowing people down as they were trying to get to me. I ran off into some woods that were right there, and they continued on foot. They were shooting at me and everything. They didn't care if they hit somebody randomly and killed them or hit them with their vehicle. They were so intent on getting me. And at some point, I slipped and fell, and then I woke up. That was the end of the dream.